Good afternoon. I heard a couple of things today that reminded me of some things that have happened in our history, and one of them was back in the acronym days when we had NAIS and USAIP and all those conversations. I was having a meeting in Kabul, Missouri, and I don't know how many of you have ever been to Kabul, Missouri. They didn't film Deliverance there, but everybody there knows what that movie's about. So we're in the middle of that conversation, and this couple gets up and storms out of the room, and I couldn't help it. You know, there weren't near this many people. And so I said, "What, did I say something to offend you?" And they go, "Well, we can't put an ear tag in a cow." And I said, "Well, why not?" Because it's the mark of the beast. Well, I never thought about that. I mean, somebody mentioned a religious objection this morning. I don't know if, Jack, it may have been you that made that comment, but my brain is evil. So later that night, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to call that couple up and say, "Hey, by the way, we've got a radar that says your cows are out." But I didn't. I run the health track program for MFA, and MFA is a 104-year-old farm supply co-op, maybe one of the oldest ones left standing as was in the country. And we have an awful lot of cow-calf production here in Missouri. Our market area is actually probably 100 miles around the state of Missouri as well, but primarily in the state of Missouri. And we're the number 2 cow-calf state, depending on whether we win the arm wrestling match with Oklahoma. But we tend to be number 2 most of the time, and it's probably because of fescue, and we probably have more reproductive problems because of fescue. So we're in that conundrum area. But we wouldn't be the number 2 cow-calf state without that problem, a noxious weed. So we've learned to manage that process, and Health Track is about documenting processes that we think have value. And what we've done is after the Texas Ranch to Rail program came out, we identified a way for us to help our cow-calf producers actually document that VAC 45 process. Obviously, that involves identification. And so for Health Track, they have to be tagged at the ranch of origin. We use an all-flex nested pair, RFID and panel tag. And just a brief comment on the whole tag issue and the cost of the tag issues. I have always believed, and I think we prove it every day, that you never want to let the tool get in the way of the business. And so we have never charged our customers for tags. We believe that the value that we offer them and the value they offer us in that partnership more than pays for the cost of the equipment. So we've never gone down that way. And we've also created a 660,000 head database on preconditioning. In other words, we've kept and recorded information on everything that happens in relation to that weaning and post-weaning 45-day period. And some of that can get pretty entertaining. I mean, we've had data submitted on the back of skull cans, on the ripped out part of the inside of a feed sack, people taking a picture of where they've written with a wax pen on the side of the barn. And so you can imagine the challenge that we've had of transcribing all that information and getting it into a database, which has kind of driven us to use technology to do that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But you know, when you have those kind of processes and collect that kind of data, you realize that life is funnier than fiction. And one of my very favorite things that I heard recorded, if an animal dies in that process, we want you to record what the cause of death was. And everybody in here will get this, and one of their responses was a log chain and a four-wheeler. So we've been able to manage all of that. And one of the reasons that we've been successful in this program where a lot of others have failed is because we have an awful lot of hands-on coverage with our producers. We deal with them on a regular basis. We have people, the ones that are in charge of managing the integrity of this program, make farm visits every day. They help them tag the cattle. Because of the Vet Practice Act in the state of Missouri, we don't do a lot of we won't vaccinate, and we don't preg check, and we don't do the things that are covered by that. But we do help people push cattle, and we certainly help tag them. That picture on the left is one of our reps that lives down around Odessa, and he literally, I kid you not, he has 2 holsters that he wears and has both taggers, and he can fill them, and he can tag calves faster than anybody I've ever seen. He even knows how to put his fingers in the thing behind the pen and flip them back into those holsters. It's pretty interesting to watch, but you just can't take the cowboy out of some people. And then in this other picture, I put this in here because when we shipped, in our history, when we've shipped those tags out to folks, we've included a hard code or a hard copy and that has the RFID number as the first column, and then the ability to enter those things that happen chute side when we tie their data set to our data set. So we've done that by hand, and we've done it for a long time with a lot of cattle, and we've created a pretty good data set from that. Just to give you an example of the value of that data set, I can tell you that if you want to drastically reduce the incidence of disease post-weaning in a preconditioning period, it has nothing to do with which product you use. It has to do with the timing of those vaccinations. If you give both rounds of vaccinations with modified live virals pre-weaning, the odds of those calves getting sick post-weaning is less than 1%. If you give that first round of shots at weaning, the odds of those calves getting sick post-weaning jumps to 5%. So it's just science. There's nothing special about that. But when you have people that literally, when you hear comments, and I know it happens around the country, well, they don't have the facilities to do that. They can't even put a tag in or give an animal a shot before they load it the first time on the truck. Then it explains to you why we have such an incidence of disease on high risk cattle when they move a long way. So we've been very instrumental in managing and creating that process. Again, and we have partnerships. We like to build partnerships with companies. We have a partnership with ABS where if you can identify with your records that a calf was sired by a certain list out of their alliance list of AI sires, then we actually can put a different color tag in there. And the purpose of that is so that we can communicate downstream to people that are going to buy those calves that they've come from sires with exceptional EPDs. And, it's just a matter of identifying those things. We also create certificates where we can identify those issues that happen, and we pass those down as the cattle move through auction markets. Most of our cattle, the average herd size in health track is about 65 head, so most of those cattle move through auction markets. And so we try to work with them as much as we can to make sure that process is seamless, and it's not always that easy. And then I always get people that say, man, I've been to the sale and I can't tell that those health track cattle brought any more than any other cattle did. You can't sit in an auction market that has a $25 or $30 spread top to bottom in any weight class of cattle and see a premium in a specific program, because I can tell you that our cattle have a $25 spread top to bottom in quality. I mean, they just do. We don't insist that you use the right genetics. We just insist that they're managed and vaccinated and have a standardized nutrition program for the first 14 days post-weaning. We do all those things to drive value into the health profile of those calves. So you cannot sit in a sale barn and watch hundreds of drafts come through there and literally see that. So what we do is that we've had a lot of cooperation from one sale barn in particular. We've had from a couple, but we get the entire data dump from their sales at Joplin on their Monday sale, which is their non-program sale, and then twice a year when they have their value-added sales on Thursdays. And I can tell you that when you look at that list, I keep forgetting to look down here, Leanne, because I can see that. But that green bar is the dollars per hundredweight advantage that health track cattle showed in those weight classes over the Monday non-program sale. I mean, and that's from $16 a hundredweight, and then you can understand why you get up over 800 pounds, why that drops significantly, because those cattle are old enough, they probably have handled all of their health issues at that point anyway. But we've always been able to track a significant premium in that. But I tell you what, really, in my view, what has always paid for the program more than anything is cutting the shrink on sale day in half. Preconditioned calf will shrink at least half what a balling calf will on sale day. And I've never run into any debate on that. It's just a fact. And so if you can just manage that alone, the value, the added value that gives is immense. So I told you that we have fat-fingered data into databases for a lot of years off of every kind of conceivable paper and hard copy or digital picture device that you can imagine. So probably out of our own sanity, we decided that we needed to recreate that process and put it in some kind of a digital format. When you realize that, and I finally got to realizing that even the ranchers out there that are my age, most of them still carry a smartphone. We have a few Gibbs out there that still want the flip phone, the analog thing, but I don't think they even use it. I think they just like flipping the lid on it. But I'm telling you that even most of them my age have a smartphone, and if they have a game they like to play, they at least know how to do that. So So we've moved our data collection platform into a mobile platform, and this has been a long process. I heard somebody say, well, that's the problem you have when you're developing apps. I'm telling you what now, when you move from knife throwing to precision accuracy with a scoped rifle, but they keep moving the target, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. So when you try to upload a new version of an iOS app and they change the operating system, or Android says, no, we're not going to take anything after a version 6. I mean, they just arbitrarily come up with these things in the middle of the process. So it's been a challenge to stay ahead of that. Some of you guys are laughing. I know you know what I'm going through, but it has been a challenge, but it's been a labor of love. And I mean, we've had a blast doing this, and we built this system from a producer level rather than, I was a systems analyst for Farmland way back in the early 80s when they first came out with PCs, and we were moving least cost feed formulation from a mainframe to those PCs. And so I get how difficult moving some of those things are, but I got to tell you, this process has been something. But we've enjoyed doing this. It's been a labor of love, and we built it from the producer angle rather than from a programmer telling us what we had to do to make this work. And they don't like that. You know, they want you to, the IT people always want to sit you down and say, well, show us the reports that you want, and then we'll build the infrastructure behind it. Don't do that. Just don't do that, because it doesn't please those of us in the room that have manure on our hands. So we literally built this app. It's synced with a web portal. And the way we've got it structured, you can have an organizational unit with several ranches. Like if you wanted to run it through, like I said, we like to do partnerships. We're working on a partnership. We've done partnership with IMI on Agent Source in the past. We're going to do that again as we move forward. And you know, we believe that you build these partnerships on structure and integrity. And so we've literally layered our data entry process to where we can identify an overarching group that might issue tags as groups with group data and create user accounts for individual tenants, and then we don't limit the number of users under a tenant. So if you're the 4/6s and you got 25 or 30 cowhands out there running cattle, everybody in that group can enter data into that system, and all syncs into one portal. And then anybody sitting in the office or sitting in Taiwan, for that matter, can look it up and see what happened that day on the ranch. So it's pretty exciting, the structure that we've put into this. This is how we visualize these things to work. Ben and I have been sitting back there. He's been in 2 of these pictures because he's my young guy. I want to prove that we have young guys working on this. That's important, because if you don't, then people don't take you seriously. But we were doing a sire evaluation and Angus sire evaluation in this picture, and using 7 or 8 sires and alternating them as we're AIing those cows in the chute, and literally keeping up with that at the speed of commerce, entering the data in this app, and then it's digitized forever. So no longer do I have to worry about whether I'm going to go to one of my kids' ball games. I got grandkids now, but I mean at that time, or sitting at home and entering stuff in the computer. I don't have to do that anymore. And that was kind of the impetus behind this. So this is kind of one of the screens of what the app looks like. It's very user friendly. It's very flexible. You can create events. You can build events for individuals or for groups of individuals. We can move groups, change locations. We can do all those things either individually or by group. And so you can imagine that if you've just processed 100 calves and they all got the same thing, if you have them identified by a group, you can just make one processing entry. It posts all that data to each one of those calves that's in that group. And we do that either that way or with locations. We have a precision agronomy group at MFA that uses SST technology to literally identify, and a lot of people in Kabul, they don't want to hear this, but you can literally geofence your property and start tying cattle movements. Just imagine how easy it's going to be to answer that question when your fertilizer supplier says, well, how many days were those cows on that pasture? Hell, I don't know. Let me look it up on my app, and it'll tell you. So we're working on all of those things, and we're very excited about that possibility. This is an example of going from the app to the portal. Again, this is so flexible. You can sort these things any way you want to. You can filter. You can pick which columns you want to show on the report. You can change the key field. You can export to Excel. You can export to a PDF file. I mean, you can literally build and manage your data any way you want to. And I think one of we didn't build very many custom or permanent reports because I've never talked to 5 cattlemen that want the report to look the same. So we tried to put the information in a format where you can build your own. But I do think inventory is critical. I think it's an amazing report, and if you if you keep track of this on your smartphone when you move cattle from pasture to pasture, or you take individuals out of a group, or you do that in any manner and you keep up with that, then you can at any one time you can create a report that you can print out, hand to some of your hands, or to a neighbor that's watching your cows this weekend, or to the kids, and you can tell them which ones to look at. So it's a pretty amazing option in my view. So I've always been about creating leverage for the cow-calf segment, because especially living where I live, where there was everybody, when I was a kid, everybody was a price taker. And so to me, building leverage, this is my grandson. And I didn't think that would happen. I'm sorry. But to see him in the breeding barn and with his daddy going to the Keneally bull sale looking at bulls, I mean, that's why we do this.